On your way, no one he know. On your way, no one he know. No one he know, no way. No one he know, no way. On your way, no one he know. On your way, no one he know. No one he know, no way. No one he know, no way.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kai Hushka. I'm the Executive Director for the Community Environmental Legal Defense Fund. It's my honor to introduce our next speaker here. As you can see from the screen there, the title of this presentation is Impact of a Religion in a Person's Faith, Testimony and Perspective, Listening and Learning to See Anew. Our presenter is Carol DeAngelo, a Sister of Charity of St. Vincent de Paul of New York, and she is the director of the Office of Peace, Justice, and Integrity of Creation of her congregation. Carol lives in the Hudson River bioregion, the ancestral land of the Illini Lenape. Carol engages with others in the work of integral ecology, transformative justice, and ecological conversion. As a PGIC director and a member of ROAR, religious organizations along the river, rights of nature is one of many issues Carol is involved in. Please welcome Carol.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes. I begin my testimony with 3 quotes from Pope Francis's 2015 encyclical Laudato Si on care for our common home. Our common home is like a sister with whom we share our life. We have forgotten that we ourselves are dust of the earth. Our very bodies are made up of her elements. We breathe her air, and we receive life and refreshment from her waters. The 3rd quote, nature cannot be regarded as something separate from ourselves or a mere setting in which we live. We are part of nature, included in it, and thus in constant interaction with it. Imagine if I lived and believed these statements. How might the Great Lakes, the land, water, and air around us be thriving rather than facing threats and harm? Pope Francis is very clear on the harms we have done and are still doing to our common home earth. And though Pope Francis and leaders of other world religions acknowledge the harm we are doing, as well as our responsibility to change our attitudes and actions, we have a long way to go to connect religion and faith with our responsibility to repair and heal, and even more, to see ourselves as intimately connected with the air, the water, the land, to see ourselves as one with nature. Pope Francis invites us to a new way of seeing, being, and acting, which is no easy task. So that is why the title of my testimony includes Listening and Learning to See Anew. World religions are inviting us to see in a new way our relationship with the earth and our responsibility in caring for it. So I mentioned 3 areas where I believe religion has impacted our relationship with nature, very often causing harm. I speak as a person of faith, grounded in the Roman Catholic religion, and as a peace, justice, and care of creation practitioner. And just the first area that I want to touch on is sacred scriptures, especially our creation stories. Understanding our sacred writings is critical. There have been times when we use them to cause and justify harm. Think of the two creation stories in the book of Genesis. While the first creation story in chapter 1 emphasizes that God looked at everything he made and found it very good, we also read in that same chapter, God blessed them, saying, "Fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish, the birds, and all living things." Yet in chapter 2 of Genesis, the second creation story speaks of man being formed out of the clay of the ground and tilling the soil. One creation story emphasizes dominion over earth. The other reminds us that we are made from the dust of earth and invites us to care for and tend it. Which story inspires and moves us to act? If we see ourselves as part of creation, as part of the earth, the soil, the dust of the earth, would our mindset and actions be different than if we took the word of Genesis 1 to heart, that we have dominion over all creatures? So 2 words, dominion as it is understood in Scripture, and stewardship as it is understood in the body of religious teaching, are important for us to grapple with as we move forward in the rights of nature movement. The second area that impacts religion is our image of God and how that affects our relationship with God and others. I believe how we image God is connected to the harming or healing of earth and her peoples. It's a difficult topic to delve into, but I mention it here since religion and image of God are intertwined, though in reality different. I think of Isaac Newton. Some of you might remember studying him. Isaac Newton, who lived in the late 1600s, early 1700s, who thought of God as clockmaker, a God of a mechanical universe, a God who set things in motion, and the world just kept going. I wonder how many people still see God as looking over them, controlling their destiny. Yet a very different way of imaging God grew out of the monastery 600 years earlier in the 11th century, where Abbess Hildegard of Bingen, in her healing images of God, spoke of viriditas, greenness, the cosmic life force infusing the natural world. For Hildegard, the divine manifested itself and was apparent in nature. 2 different ways of imaging God and knowing God, leading to 2 different ways of seeing the world and acting in it. When I was in elementary school, the image in the religion books was that of the triangle, with God at the top and in descending order, man, woman, child, animals, trees, plants, rocks, and so on. And that image has influenced laws, policies, and norms. Today, the image in my mind's eye, and many people of faith, is one where we, the sun, water, land, tree, animals, plants, and farmer tilling the soil, are all connected and interdependent, part of a web of life. So one image I have of God is a living presence, an energy of love, permeating all of creation, inviting us to co-create with God a healthy, sustainable future. And the third area I'll just very briefly touch on here, history. Knowledge of how religion has played a role in shaping events and history is critical. I can only touch on this briefly. The early church, built on the faith of Christians who were martyred because of their beliefs, changed drastically in the 4th century when Constantine converted to Christianity, became emperor, and declared Christianity to be the religion of the Holy Roman Empire. When Christianity became the dominant religion, it was closely connected to political structures, and thus it was difficult to separate Christianity from the nations that formed. You might remember studying the theory of divine right of kings in school. And it was just over these past few years that I became acutely aware of the history of and harm caused by the doctrine of discovery. My involvement with several groups called me to delve more deeply into racism, white privilege, the legacy of Native American boarding schools in the United States and Canada, and ultimately the doctrine of discovery. Through webinars and conversations, I listened and learned and came to see how this doctrine has impacted our way of thinking, our legal system, and ultimately who got to own the land and be master of it. So my eyes were opened to the devastating impact that the doctrine of discovery had on the world, in particular here in our own country, the United States. I saw how our connection to land, water, and nature, and the laws that have come about are tightly wound up with this complex doctrine of discovery. And at its heart, the DOD, which it's sometimes called, the DOD history is the power and influence of the Catholic Church in the 15th and 16th centuries. 3 papal bulls that are not even considered official church teaching gave license for nations in the New World to take control over both people and land. People's dignity, their land, rights, and freedom were taken away. The U.S. Supreme Court legal decision in the 1823 case, Johnson versus McIntosh, was based on the doctrine of discovery. Chief Justice John Marshall's opinion in the unanimous decision held, and I'm going to just quote this, that the principle of discovery gave European nations an absolute right to New World lands, end quote. In essence, American Indians had only a right of occupancy which could be abolished. And out of this 1823 U.S. Supreme Court decision, a 200 years history emerged in our country that has legalized how we come to look at land and the absolute right to own and control it. I believe we are at a new moment and are part of a movement that is articulating and acting to reduce harm. I know many people of faith committed to repairing, healing, and transformation. As ROAR, religious organizations along the river, we have immersed ourselves in a new creation story. We are part of a 14 billion year unfolding, ongoing development of a universe which reveals that we are all connected and interrelated. We recognize that conscious awareness, networking, which is happening here today, collaboration, addressing root causes, and seeing the intersectionality of issues are critical if we are to move forward from our adolescence as humanity to becoming a humanity that is mature and conscious of our collective power to co-create our future. Thank you very much.
On your way, no one know. On your way, no one know. No one know, no way. No one know, no way. On your way, no one know. On your way, no one know. No one know, no way. No one know, no way. No one know. No